All right, so starting with the pencil, cleaning it up and then taking it into Vector Magic, and then using their low quality settings and limiting it to only 2 colors, even though it's not black and white, it's like light gray and dark gray, I get this result. And what I do with this result is I make it all fit on the screen as big as I can, and then I'm going to do a screen grab of it. So Command-Shift-4 on a Mac, draw the box around what I want. Okay. That automatically saves it as a PNG onto the desktop. So where's my screen grab? There it is. Now I'm going to open that up with, well actually no, I won't even open it up with Photoshop. I can then go to Illustrator directly, open it up with Illustrator. There it is. And then use Image Trace. And I can use Silhouette, but that seems a little harsh. So let me try black and white logo. I adjust my settings. I ignore the white. And I can get a really nice start on the vector line work that way. This is going really angular though, so let me see, maybe I need more corners. More individual paths. Yeah, so that's not too bad. Then I expand it, and I now have vector shapes I can work with that come right from my pencil. So that's pretty good. That's another form of digital inking. Now, are there little artifacts that need to be erased? Yes. Is everything a little bit more jagged than I want it? Especially my hamster gets turned into like a cubist piece? Yes. But starting from just pencil and not having to ink it at all, that's not too bad. But why did I ink mine? Well, because I wanted to keep all of those subtle curves. So in my vector, because I inked it first and then was able to kind of clean it up that way, everything got nice and curvy. Whereas from the pencil and using Vector Magic, everything's a lot more angular. So remember, live tracing is kind of a choice, different ways to do it. But as long as we get to the black line work as a vector, we're good, no matter what tools we're using for that. So, going back, setting up for color, kind of picking a palette I want to play with. I think this is a pretty interesting palette, and I think this one is a pretty interesting palette. So I might mark those two with a color. These are the two I'm interested in stealing colors from, at least initially. And I'll open them up in Photoshop. Here I'm going to adjust the tone of this a little, maybe brighten it up. Feels a little yellow overall. Play with the color balance. So when I steal colors from it, it feels correct. Yeah, that looks nice. All right. And now instead of working with my pencil, I go to my object, my file that's set up for coloring. And this is now how I set it up. I want to go to Window, Arrange, and I want 3 upstacked, because I have 2 color references, and then I have my project here. I want them all open in Photoshop. I want my project to be bigger. I want these to be a little bit smaller. And this is what I mean by stealing color. So, I want a background color. Well, maybe no, it's a spot illustration. Never mind, I don't want a background color yet. That will come in when I do my, my poster. But let's see, what color do I want the horns? Well, that pink is not necessarily what I want. So, let me change it. When I use the paintbrush tool or the paint bucket tool, if I hold down Option, it will turn it into a paint dropper. And that way I can select any other color I want. So maybe I want this green, and then I use the paint bucket, and it changes to that green. Or maybe I want this gold. I use the paint bucket, changes it to that gold. Or I want this red. So this is what's called flatting. F-L-A-T-T-I-N-G. And it's actually a really good entry-level digital art job. And it's going in on other people's artwork and cleaning it up, or just separating out all the different local colors by using the magic wand with contiguous turned on. It won't make any mistakes because you're working from a vector, and filling in with flat local color. And actually, to be a flatting artist, you don't even pick realistic local colors. You just pick crazy colors that are distinct from each other. So that then the finishing digital artist can go in and do whatever they want. But here I'm going to pick kind of local colors I think are interesting. So I think red might be pretty, and maybe I want this red. So I'm going to use the paint bucket, hold down Option. This is a slightly oranger red. Then I go to my color layer, and I drop it in. And you see it will drop in on everything that was selected. Right, so then how do I do that with the other side? Well, I go to my ink layer, which is locked, and a vector layer. And I'm just using it to select these shapes. I hold down Shift. I select within more of these antler shapes. It works because they're all contained. You know, completely surrounded by other pixels. That's another reason for inking it and kind of keeping that in mind. And then I'll use the paint bucket, hold down Option, select the red, and then drop it in on my color layer. And what's fun is there's lots of different reds, even just in here. You can see the sliders going crazy. There's lots of little subtle variations. And I can pick from them. You know, some that are more pink, some that are deeper. And what that does is it separates out those colors from my line work, which is quite nice. All right, let's do some of the other elements. Maybe all of these little sunbursts, like a glowing star. Select them on the ink layer with contiguous turned on with the magic wand. The inside the open space, hold down Shift, I can get all of them. Whoops. Make sure you're getting the space inside, not the black line. Then go to my flat color layer, use the paint bucket, hold down Option, steal the gold, paint them in. It paints them all in at once. Very handy for flatting. Now for the heads, this head has an opening in it right there. So you see how that head was nicely selected? Because there's no opening in any of that line work. So then I go to the flat color layer, pick a bucket. Let's see, maybe this green. Maybe this. Maybe this. All right, maybe this. Trying different things. Can all be modified. And of course you can select your own colors too. Okay, so that worked. Now, when I try to do it on the other side, it selects everything. And that's because there's an opening in the shape. So how do I deal with that? This is how I deal with that. I'm going to duplicate my inked spot layer, Command J, and then I'm going to just rasterize that duplicate, okay, so that I can modify it. And then I am simply going to paint in some pixels, even though I don't want them to be there in the final. So I'll mark this as red by right-clicking, because I'll edit it out later. But now this is where I'll get my selections from when I need to fill them in. So now I've got that selection. I go to my flat color layer. I can steal from myself just as easily as I can steal from somewhere else. And it will paint in. And I want something a little bit darker for this. So what do? I go to that red layer. And I'm going to close these shapes. With black, so they're contained. Okay. And then steal my selections from them. Remember, you can't do that on a smart vector layer. You can't add to the content. I don't want to lose my vectors because that allows me to scale up. And that's the actual finished line work I want. But now I can paint those in with a darker version of this gold, maybe. And on it goes. So this will be the first step in our digital coloring, just filling it with flats. Either flats you choose or flats that you steal from other sources. And we'll have fun working with it, getting it where we want as a spot illustration. And I think I want a brown. I don't see a brown anywhere. Or maybe I want the blue. Let's try the blue. Now you got to be careful. You don't want to accidentally paint it on the wrong layer, right? And I just did that. So you always want to make sure that all of your colors are pure on their own layer, like that. It's actually kind of a nice spot just on its own. Maybe I don't need all that other detail. You see, so when you turn off your color layer, you don't want to see any other color. And that's because you accidentally painted on the wrong layer. So that's the only problem with having to have this red layer, is I can accidentally paint on that layer and I don't want to. All right. What's next? This tree, let's try it. Let's go for the blue. I think I want a dark brown. Yeah. And on and on. So the last flats I'll do are just on these leaves here. That one contained. This one I need to paint in first, so it doesn't leak out. And these are for just the big flats. Come on. There we go. So contain it, make your selections, move to your paint layer,